So, you're not really super. You're just a normal guy with robot parts. Some scientists decided to give you a bunch of enhancements. You have a couple of enhancements there on your chest, sweetheart. How dare you! Power Girl's box isn't too colorful, but I like that because she is colorful and makes her stand out a little bit more. You know, I'm getting a whole bunch of pops this year, so I'm trying to be a little bit more selective of what I get. And I was originally only going to get Power Girl, but this Cyborg was pretty cool, and so does Black Manta and Supergirl, so I got them too. I didn't pick up Firestorm just because I'm just not too familiar with his character, and he looks cool and everything, but I had to make cuts somewhere. The DC figures aren't bobbleheads, but this Power Girl is a perfect example of why I wish they were all bobbleheads. Because one of the nicer details is this pendant on her shoulder holding the rope and her cape on. You can't really see it unless you're getting really close up in there. But if she were a bobblehead, you can kind of tilt her head back, move it around. And plus, the heads on the bobbles tend to sit a little higher on the neck, so you really do appreciate any detailing on the shoulders. And Funko started out as a bobblehead company. That's one of the reasons that Pops do have a big head to begin with, because when you have a spring in there, you need a little weight to the head so it actually bobbles. But, you know, that's just my own thing. A lot of people don't like the bobbleheads. I do. I think it's funnier. I think it makes sense with the way the figures look. And from a collecting standpoint, I like that they're bobbleheads, a lot of them, you know. But that doesn't really matter. It's just a small thing. Her costume is pretty cool. It's really classic. I've always liked the Power Girl outfit, even though it's a little ridiculous. Because can you imagine if you were a superhero and you decide this is going to be your costume? Like if they made a Power Girl movie, there's no way that they would keep this same classic costume and stay true to the comics. Because she's basically wearing a long sleeve swimsuit with a big cutout so her boobs can stick out, basically. I mean, and she has the same powers as Superman. So when she's flying around at like breaking the sound barrier and punching things as hard as she can and just all the stuff that she does, her boobs are definitely going to spill out in a realistic setting. And especially how big they are too. And another interesting thing about her is she is called Power Girl because she didn't want to be a derivative of Superman and be called Supergirl. So that's kind of feminist. Yet they draw her with these big old boobs. And one of the artists like kind of was trolling the publisher, and with each comic book he would draw her boobs bigger and bigger and bigger just to see how far he could take it before the publisher stepped in and go like, hey man, what's the deal with her boobs? Like pretty soon they're going to be as big as her head. And I just think that's kind of like an interesting thing about her, where her name is kind of feminist, but the way they draw her definitely isn't. I mean, she's definitely drawn as eye candy for the male readers. But yeah, they did a really good job on her. I wish they would have made her hair maybe a little bit more messy because she does fly around. And this looks a little perfect, but she is one of the classic DC heroes. I mean, she's from the classic heroes line with the classic outfit. So they made her pretty simple in the old school pop stance and everything, and very simple hair sculpt. So it does kind of go with like those old school Batmans, you know, the way they're so simple. Some of those old school figures. But yeah, they got her. When you have a pop this simple, you have to get the colors right. And that bright blue is really pretty. The red is really nice, and the yellow is really nice. It contrasts well with the white. And it's just very classic superhero colors, and they got them just right. And her paint is pretty flawless. Yeah, very happy with this one. I think she's a very pretty figure. The nose also looks a little sharper than a lot of pop figures, so it makes her look more feminine. And I like that they did brown eyebrows instead of just yellow, because realistically, blonde people don't have yellow eyebrows. They're kind of brown like that. I'll take 6 wings and a pale ale, please. Oh, I thought we were at Hooters. My bad. You're an animal. Cyborg is also in a pretty simple box, except for his is red and black. Kind of reminds me of the Force Awakens colors. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of Cyborg. I don't know too much about him. but I had to get him because he just looks awesome. And it actually does make me want to learn more about him. Especially, I mean, I do like cyberpunkish kind of characters. And this is definitely what he is. So I had to pick him up. And look at this guy. I'm surprised I like him as much as I do because his outfit is pretty silly looking when you, I mean, look at it. He's wearing a swimsuit and then he's got these straps on his legs like this and he's silver. I mean, it looks like he got lost on his way to some kind of Village People robot disco party or something because that is just an outrageous looking outfit. I mean, I don't think I would wear that. That's for sure. I don't think I could pull it off like my man here. But he does look pretty cool. Like the sculpt is very detailed, very nice. And I'm surprised they got the paint jobs done so well because I've noticed that with these metallic paints, especially the golds and the silvers, they must be pretty unruly to work with because there is usually overspray like quite a bit in a very like noticeable way on a lot of the pops that use these colors, and you see a little bit here, a little bit here and there. Nothing crazy though, nothing that would make me say that this has a bad paint job. Like, it's very minimal, and they just did a good job with this silver. Because usually when I see these silver painted pops, I always know I'm going to have to look through a billion of them to find a good one. But yeah, this sculpt is way more detailed than it looks in the glam shots. Yeah, I'm going to have to learn more about Cyborg because he does sound kind of interesting now that I read a little bit about him. I do like cyberpunk characters quite a bit. I'm a big fan of all those kind of movies and mangas and everything. And I did kind of think it was cool that in the Batman vs. Superman movie, the little cyborg cameo that there was the guy that played the scientist guy that was responsible for Skynet and Terminator. I think his name is Miles Dyson in the movie. And I thought that was like, they had to have done it on purpose because that has to be a pretty big coincidence that the guy from Terminator is also the guy that makes Cyborg. You know, on accident too, because Skynet wasn't meant to take over the world the way they did. That was kind of an accident by a scientist that kind of overreached and created something that ends up killing us. And now the same actor is playing a guy that creates something that creates another cybergenic kind of, you know, cyborg basically. I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, very happy with this guy. He really stands out, really looks cool. I pre-ordered these from GameStop because I knew they were going to be hard to find when they came out. Because unlike the Civil War Pops or the Star Wars Pops, for example, these kind of characters have a way smaller circulation and they are pretty hard to find, especially in good boxes. So if you get to know one of the managers and, you know, start talking Pops with them and stuff, I mean, a lot of them are collectors. The guy that manages one of my local GameStops, he has like close to 500. So they're definitely people that understand like, hey, I want a good box. Hey, I want to get the Pops that I want day one. So, you know, they'll keep you up to date with new stuff coming out because it's constantly changing. So I'm kind of glad that whenever I do go in there, he goes, hey, did you hear about like Marvin the Martian's going to get a Pop, for example. So it's definitely something you want to do. You know, just ask questions, get to know one of them. It's actually a way better and easier way of getting the stuff you want. So, can I borrow that garter belt you're wearing? I'm going to an S&M party later. That's not a garter belt. They'll serve a very important purpose. Sure they do, stud.